Welcome everyone, back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the GFS ensembles, and then we'll have a more detailed look at some precipitation charts, and we'll look at Meteo Seal, at some Cape charts, convergence zones, and we'll look at Met Office weather warnings, as we do have thunderstorm warnings in force for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. At the moment they're quite broad warnings, and I do suspect they will be confined, perhaps downgraded in some locations, maybe upgraded in other locations. So really have to keep an eye on that, but we'll have a look at the current warnings at the end of the video. Do remember, if you enjoyed my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Do remember to follow me as well on Twitter. Link is in the description. So if we have a look at the latest GFS, we'll run through the GFS and GFS ensembles just quickly, just so we keep up to date with sort of the mid-range outlook. So we can see high pressure building today. And it's built, it has built in overnight into today, and it's brought some very warm conditions in the southeast. I've seen officially it's got to about 27, 28 degrees. Doesn't look like it's going to get to 29 or 30 degrees today. But tomorrow's probably looking a little bit better for temperatures getting up to maybe 30 degrees or so. However, further northwards and westwards, we have low pressure trying to move in, bringing some cooler air in, so it's going to be a bit cooler in the north. But in the south and southeast, we're still going to be seeing some quite high temperatures, probably until about Thursday, Friday, once the breakdown with those thunderstorms does come. You see this low pressure system try moving through on Tuesday. It's going to bring cooler conditions once again from the west, but ahead of it, it's going to bring up southerly winds, warm, humid air coming up from Spain and France. And that is going to bring quite warm conditions back to the southeast, potential again for high 20s or low 30s. But it's going to provide fuel for some big thunderstorms. Along that southerly wind, you can see a low pressure system actually forms in the Bay of Biscay, running through the UK, this sort of small low pressure system, and it will be providing lift that could turn into quite significant thunderstorms. So we have to really keep an eye on that, and we'll look at that further in the towards the end of the video through Thursday and into Friday as well, before a ridge of high pressure tries to build in with some bit cooler air. Again, always the threat of some warm or hot air in the southeast, so we're always very close to that sort of warm plume sitting over sort of Spain, France and parts of northwest Europe. However, low pressure starts to move in towards day 10, sitting towards over the top of the country into our south, perhaps migrating to our north at points, just sort of milling around over the top of the country around day 10, and it's going to mean there's going to be a lot of precipitation going around, not convective showers, and probably temperatures a little bit cooler than average. Perhaps though, if we do see the low pressure system position its way where we do bring up southerly or easterly winds, that's when we could start to see some warmer air come in within the low pressure system, which would mean there would be some sunshine, some warm conditions, but also probably some thunderstorms. So as we head towards the end of the run, again, low pressure's in control, bringing in westerly winds. But again, I can't rule out it being a dry few days with some warm sunshine as well. That hot air is never too far away. So if you have a look at the GFS ensembles, you can see that all illustrated quite well. You can see next 2 days or so, it's very hot, warm. Then we see a bit of a cool down as that low pressure system tries to move into the north. It does bring cooler into Scotland, but struggles into many parts of the south and just sort of get shunted out of the way by the high pressure and the warm conditions. We do rise up again for sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with some very warm conditions, but that is ahead of some big thunderstorms. It's going to be broadly a big area of rain, with some very heavy rain within it, but also embedded thunderstorms. And you can see there's a broad range of ensemble members, some going off the charts with precipitation, potentially getting up to 40, 50 mils, which is getting up towards 2 inches of rain. Others maybe more modest, around 5, 6 mils, around a quarter of an inch. So we'll have to really keep an eye on rainfall totals. Again, it's going to be very difficult to pinpoint because it's just going to be exactly where the core of storms passes through, because some areas could see 20 or 30 millimetres an hour. Somewhere 10 miles down the road only sees maybe 3 or 4 millimetres. So it's going to be very difficult to forecast, but anyone in the warning zone needs to sort of, there's the potential that you could see conditions where you could see an inch or two of rain in the space of a few hours. Beyond that though, temperatures sort of settle down back to around average. There's a few signs we could see a few warmer little hints every now and again. And there's still precipitation around, showers, convective thunderstorms still spiraling around that area of low pressure. So doesn't look like it's going to go particularly dry after these big thunderstorms on Wednesday and Thursday, even into Friday. So we're really going to have to, so it's sort of setting a pattern for the foreseeable future. If we do have a look at the 2 meter temperatures and precipitation, you can see over the next sort of day or so, we're going to be getting up to mid to high 20s, potentially 30 degrees again southeast, and then we sort of drop down briefly to sort of 22, 23 degrees. We do have some cooler air coming in before Wednesday, and even Thursday is around sort of the high 20s once again. Thursday really depends on how quickly those thunderstorms move in sort of into the morning. It does look like they're moving in the morning now instead of overnight Wednesday, so it looks like the timing slightly changed than the last few updates. So yeah, it really depends on what conditions. Operational one has that thunderstorms moving quite quickly in the morning, so highs are only around 16, 17, 18 degrees, whereas others get up to maybe 28, 29 degrees around lunchtime, as the thunderstorms do come in later in the day. Beyond that, though, you can see sort of into Friday, you can see temperatures really suppressed around 16, 17, maybe even 18 degrees or so, as we do have heavy rain and thunderstorms still around. So we're going to have to really keep an eye on those temperatures, because they could be quite up and down over the next sort of week or so, depending on which area see thunderstorms, and we could see quite a strong temperature gradient across the country. So that's just one thing to keep an eye on. So if we now have a look at precipitation rates, we'll look at the GFS GM icon, and then we'll have a look at the WRF as well. So if we run through, we'll briefly have a look. You see weather fronts moving in overnight tonight, but not really doing too much, bringing too much rain sort of apart from sort of Scotland. And then that weather front tries to move in through sort of Wednesday, but really fizzles out before getting before fueling these thunderstorms moving up from the south. And yeah, they have shifted to more like Thursday morning to Thursday afternoon. See big thunderstorms moving through central England into eastern areas as well. And it doesn't look like that's the only batch. That's going to be the first batch of thunderstorms before we could see some more thunderstorms through sort of Friday morning on the coast, before moving northwards through Friday evening into Saturday. And then more thunderstorms, potentially Kent Clipper sort of system there, where big, really severe thunderstorms develop over France, and they have enough energy heading northwards sort of to hit sort of East Anglia in the southeast, still giving a light show sort of through Saturday evening, and even getting quite far inland there. And then through Sunday, still more storms around, really spiraling around that area of low pressure. So we could be seeing quite a good few days worth of storms coming up. So any storm lovers out there, this could be sort of prime time for you guys. Anyone who dislikes storms, people who have dogs who don't like the thunder, unfortunately, we may be seeing quite a lot of that. Again, really does depend on location. Some areas may escape the storms completely, others may just get battered by sort of consecutive days of quite frequent storms. It just really depends on where any convergence zones line up, and exactly the track of these sort of small localized sort of low pressure systems that are fueling these thunderstorms. So if we have a look at the GEM, see how that compares, be interesting to see if it does follow similar sort of patterns and similar sort of waves of storms. Just to show really if the models have pinpointed it yet. So if we move into Wednesday evening, you see those storms start to develop, move northwards, again through central and eastern areas, through sort of Thursday evening to early Thursday morning. So a bit earlier there on the GM. Then more storms develop through sort of Thursday afternoon, perhaps not severe, but again the GM does underplay precipitation a little bit. And then through Friday, you can see that sort of Kent Clipper system potentially through sort of Friday morning into Friday afternoon, and then potentially some more sort of homegrown thunderstorms develop before weather fronts try and move in off the Atlantic. So the GM does underplay the precipitation a little bit, but it does generally show similar sort of pattern, similar sort of timeline with these showers, but perhaps maybe 6 to 12 hours faster on the GM. So we're seeing that sort of the Kent Clipper system come through sort of Friday afternoon instead of Friday evening into the night. So again, timing's not exactly pinpointed, but it definitely does look like that sort of initial thunderstorm system moving in through sort of early Thursday morning to Thursday lunchtime, and then another system moving through potentially into Friday. So that's the sort of two main areas we're going to be watching for these storms. If we now have a look at the icon run, it's more high resolution, so it should forecast this a little bit better. So if we do move through sort of Tuesday afternoon, you see that weather fronts move through, but sort of fizzles out, and then we see those big thunderstorms develop a bit further westwards on the icon run, interestingly. Very severe, and quite widespread as well. You see, spreading all the way from northern England all the way down to the south coast. That's very intense. Really, the icon's really been showing this quite well over the last few days. I'll be very surprised if it does play out exactly like this with this big, massive storms. I suspect it will be much more fragmented, and it won't be this huge block of thunderstorms. But again, who really knows? It's very difficult forecasting storms in the UK because we can get storms very many different ways. We can get sort of convection-based storms, or we can get heat-based storms. We can even get storms in sort of December just simply from the instability. So it's very difficult to forecast exactly what type of storms we're going to see. But if it's a system like this, similar to what you can see in sort of America, where we see these massive clumps of storms, it'd be very interesting indeed to see what sort of rainfall totals we could get from this. If we do also move through Thursday afternoon, see that system eventually clears, and then for early morning Friday, we see that Kent Clipper system move in, and some very heavy rain heading into the southeast, sort of lingering around through as well. So very intense indeed. We'll briefly have a look at precipitation accumulation. I wasn't going to have a look at this, but looking at those charts, it looks very interesting indeed. So if we do move through sort of Wednesday, you can see that system heading in from the south. You can see widely an inch or even 2 inches of rain, 60 millimeters just from a few thunderstorms. And then again, through sort of the southeast, potentially seeing maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain. Parts of Kent seeing 70 millimeters of rain. Very exceptional values, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some quite significant flooding from this. If this scenario does come off, I would suspect an amber warning would be enforced by the Met Office if we did see this pattern. So I suggest, I definitely think the icon probably is on the extreme end of most of these models. But if this sort of scenario did come off, I do expect the Met Office to refine their warnings and to potentially upgrade them as well. So if we finally have a look at the WRF, we'll have a look at Cape first, we'll have a look at convergence zones then, and then we'll have a look at just straight up precipitation. So we'll run through quickly, skip sort of to Wednesday. You can see there's sort of decent Cape in sort of France and Spain through sort of Wednesday into the afternoon. You see some Cape does start to build in southern England, potentially giving some thunderstorms overnight until Wednesday. But you can see some big Cape in northern sort of France that potentially is going to form the storms, and then it's just going to really see how they can sort of sustain themselves moving into the UK. But you see a decent Cape there, but sort of fades through sort of Wednesday night before reforms some very significant Cape through Thursday morning to Thursday afternoon. Very high amounts, so getting to 2 to 3,000 range for joules per kilogram. Almost, if you have a look at there, sort of towards northeast England, parts of East Anglia, almost the highest Cape we can see in this whole chart. So very significant Cape on this run. Now it's different to yesterday's run. Yesterday's run was showing more widespread Cape, but probably but in Wednesday evening instead of Thursday around lunchtime. So again, it's going to slightly fluctuate through between the runs over the next few days, but we really will have it pinpointed probably by Tuesday sort of afternoon what's going to really happen. But if we move beyond that, you see the Cape heads northeastwards off the coast before we do clear, and generally things go a little bit drier through Wednesday. Before I suspect through through Friday afternoon, things may start to pick up once again. If we do have a look at the wind direction, this is at 10 meters, but it gives a general idea of what sort of wind patterns we're going to be seeing, showing convergence zone. If we move through Wednesday, you can see there's the potential for some convergence zones across sort of southern England. You can see these wind directions suddenly changing, suddenly changing direction, which could fuel some storms through sort of Wednesday evening. You see there through central southern England. That's where we have some Cape as well. So we could be seeing, that could be sort of the trigger of those first initial storms. And as we head through that, you see there's a low pressure system, sort of localized surface low forming in the channel, and that's what's going to fuel those big thunderstorms through Thursday afternoon, heading northeastwards. And it does look like we could be seeing some very significant storms, both for the Cape and with those surface winds. It'd be very interesting indeed to see how that does play out. If we now have a look at precipitation, it'll be very interesting to see what this shows. If we do have a look through sort of Wednesday afternoon, you can see some storms do develop in sort of northern France and southern England, heading northwards. They do look like they are initially storms and then sort of fill out into a bigger mass of rain as they head northwards, simply because of simply because of how sort of storms run out of fuel. But you can see through sort of Thursday afternoon, they sort of there's some further storms reignite through central and northeastern parts, and this is probably due to that significant cape in the afternoon there. Also, you can see more storms heading up from the north, but it does look like they run out of energy and just a bigger mass of rain. So again, big uncertainty exactly how intense these storms are going to be. Does look like there are going to be storms around. Just how intense and how widespread really is the question at the moment. If we finally have a look at the UK Met Office warnings, we'll just run through the Thursday or Wednesday morning as it runs through all the way. So some places are likely to see thunderstorms later Wednesday through Friday with the potential of travel disruption and flooding. If we look at further details, although there remains significant uncertainty in location and timing, as I've said, areas of thunderstorms are expected to move north-east across parts of England and Wales from late Wednesday through to Friday morning. Whilst not all locations will be affected, some intense thunderstorms may occur during this period, with torrential rain, hail, frequent lightning and strong gusty winds possible. Rainfall totals of around 30mm could fall in an hour, so that's over an inch, or 50mm in 2 to 3 hours, which is sort of 2 inches. And you can see at the moment, they suspect it's going to be quite high impact. However, the likelihood, it's quite unlikely at this stage, simply because they don't know exactly where the location will be. But I do suspect over the next few days, this will be refined quite significantly, and there even could be amber warnings in force. Looking at some of those charts, especially that icon run. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.